Ed, is that why you needed that photo of me with my shirt off with Nash?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, it wasn't for the app? That was just for your personal use?
No. Get that image out of my head.
Yeah, me too.
You don't know what I look like.
Welcome to iAccess VO with Brian Fischler and Ed Plumacher. Making it happen with VoiceOver accessibility. And now, here's Brian and Ed.
Welcome back to yet another episode of iAccess VO. It's 2017. We're here for our first episode of the year. How's your year getting off to, Ed?
It's getting off to a good start, Brian. I mean, it's a little colder than I'd like, a little more snow than I would like, but all's good. All is very good.
Yeah, all's good, except I've already had a neighbor complaint for 2017.
Yeah, but don't you get those almost on a daily basis?
No, believe it or not, I am a courteous neighbor. I do like to keep the volume of things down and not play my music too late, so gosh, I couldn't even tell you the last time I had a neighbor complaint, but it's funny. My downstairs neighbor stopped me in the hallway the other day, and I was talking to her, and she says, this just started recently. I've been hearing this very loud voice coming from your apartment. You know what it is?
Yeah, you told me. I have to say, you did tell me it's your new TiVo device.
It's the screen reader on the TiVo, guilty as charged, because there's no volume control for the screen reader, and sometimes when you play the described video tracks, which I guess are not Dolby Digital 5.1 or anything, you have to really make the television volume quite loud so you can hear it, especially since I've been congested and not hearing out of my right ear. And when you hit pause, let's just say the screen reader is quite loud. So, I've fortunately for me, it is a screen reader that's very easy to turn off. So, I'm making sure if I am now watching a described video track where I do have the volume turned up, I have to turn the screen reader off because I know it's going to be quite loud if it talks.
Wow, well, not only that, but that'd be something too when it breaks through out of a lull or a silence or whatever, you make you jump, So you did tell me you did contact TiVo through Twitter or something like that about this issue, or?
No, I emailed them. I actually went through their website and I wrote them a nice email first, telling them my story and how I never thought they'd have a built-in screen reader and how thankful I am for it, but like anything, there is room for improvement, and one of those first things would be give us at least, I remember on the old Apple TVs, they had VoiceOver was, you at least had low, medium, and high, I think, is a choice. Now on the new one, it's, your typical 10%, 20%, but you have to have some kind of separate volume control for that screen reader, because it is definitely a lot louder than your television set.
Yeah, well, you know what? The technology is there. Hopefully, they'll just spend a little time and get everything synchronized so that you can level everything out and have everything come across at the same level.
Yeah, well, I know you are not a TiVo user. Have you gotten Cablevision up and running yet with everything out there?
What are you, crazy? Cablevision. I don't think they have any clue as to what's going on with this whole process.
Yeah, well, we do have a good friend of ours, a mutual friend, Alan Gunsberg, who he's been on Cablevision because he's trying to get everything set up at his house, and he's stuck in the dongle effect where they've been trying to explain how this is going to work. Where the last I heard, he has kept on Cablevision. The last I heard from him was that it's some kind of dongle that connects to a Kindle that would then read everything on an Android phone, and surprisingly, this does meet the letter of the law. He has not gotten it hooked up yet, but surprisingly, this complicated way that Cablevision is trying to do things does meet the 21st Century Communications Act, which does shock me.
Yeah, that shocks me as well because, well, first of all, I know Alan is an iPhone user, so I don't even think he has an Android device. Have they actually sent him the dongle?
No, well, Cablevision they will be providing him with all the equipment. He's been talking to several different people at the company, and it just sounds like a giant mess. Haven't they seen what the other cable companies have done? And it seems much more simplistic to build it into the device and just do an operating system kind of upgrade or whatever.
Yeah, which is, all the more kudos to Comcast for, I think they tackled this issue and really had it rolled out almost 18 months ago. So
kudos to Verizon, Vios, and DirectTV and Dish Network, who we've heard have all also met this. I haven't heard much on the Time Warner. I don't even know what Time Warner is called anymore. I know they have a new name and everything.
So I think it's Spectrum or something like that.
You are correct. Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. Look at the big brain on Eds.
Yeah. So you mentioned Dish Network. It's DirectTV is the one we've heard the most about, though, isn't it?
Well, DirectTV is, Dish Network is, the smaller satellite company, I believe. But I've heard good things about Dish. But DirectTV we've heard a lot about because of their new cut the cord, I believe it's called DirectTV Now.
Right, and that's tied in with AT&T, which is a new service. And we had a listener who contacted us, Randy Myers from where's he from again?
Sheboygan Falls. I love saying that.
Yeah, that's why I gave you that segue because I know you love to say Sheboygan Falls.
Well, who was from Sheboygan?
No.
John Candy in I believe it was Home Alone.
Okay,
he pops up. He's from Sheboygan, not Sheboygan Falls.
Right, the character's from Sheboygan.
Yes.
John Candy was not from Sheboygan. Yes.
I had never heard of Sheboygan. It's just what's more fun to say, Sheboygan or Shillelaghs? or as you call it, Schillingers. Schillingers would be third out of that list.
Yeah, well, Schillingers is a combination of your two favorite hangouts: Dillingers for wings and Shillelaghs for your cocktails.
Yes, but I like saying Sheboygan more than any of those. Just don't ask me to spell any of these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Randy brought us up to speed on what he's been doing with it because he is a subscriber to the new DirectTV Now, and he has it hooked up with his Amazon Fire Stick, and he says it's very accessible. I went online and looked a few of this stuff up here, and I can see that the DirectTV Now promotions are providing people with either a Fire Stick or an Apple TV if you subscribe to their service. So they're really doing a big promo on this here at the start of the new year.
Yeah, and this we can't confirm any of this because neither you nor myself are DirectTV Now subscribers, but as Randy had mentioned, quite accessible, where I believe he mentioned in the email that the network names are read to you on the Fire Stick, which is not the case on the Apple TV, where none of the channels, at least last we heard, none of the channels are read to you. I did see a posting on our good friend, the Android board, completely inaccessible on the Android front, so no big surprise there.
Yeah, but one of the things they are doing is they are offering a free 7-day trial, so you can sign up for it, test it out for a week. If you don't like it, cancel it. And if you do any of that, let us know. Contact us at iaccessvo@gmail.com or hit us up at Twitter at iaccessvo, and let us know what's going on with that.
I'm supposed to be the one that gives those names because we know that I do not have the phone number memorized. So,
well, that's what I was holding out. I was going to say, Brian, why don't you give the phone number?
8675309.
Yeah, so no, if you do it, you can call us too at 732-660-8641. And I've got that right this time because there's been a few occasions I've given the wrong phone number out.
Hey, so if you've called us and you haven't gotten through, do let us know. But, interestingly enough, you talked about that combo thing where you could get a free Apple TV or a free Fire Stick. Be smart about it. Get the free Apple TV. It costs like 5 times more, and then just go buy a Fire Stick for like $35.
Yes, that's a very good point, and I had that in my notes to mention as well because if you're going to get one, if you have a choice, go for the Apple TV.
Yeah, so it's you can get both of them. Though the thing is, how many HDMI slots do you have on your TV, or is that too personal to talk about on the podcast?
I have 4.
Oh, gee, how new is your television?
I think it's only a couple years old.
And my TV's from December of '08, and we're poor people here. We only have 2 HDMI slots, so I was.
Wait a minute. You bought that big flat screen TV back in 2008. You must have paid a pretty penny for that at that time, Mr. Fischler.
Well, that's when I was still working on Wall Street, so I was making pretty good coin back then and everything. But I bought it. That a new TiVo at the time. I remember December of '08 was a merry new year. But the good old days. But then I got laid off for the first time ever in January of '09. So it was short-lived. It was short-lived.
Yeah, but at least you had a nice big TV when you were sitting home watching Judge Judy.
I have never watched Judge Judy. I am shocked, as I recently did learn she makes like $45 million a year.
Yeah, so even when you visit your mom, you've never been stuck having to watch an episode of Judge Judy with your parents?
My mom is even worse. My mom's an Ellen fan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good reason to want to go back to work.
Good reason why I don't visit Florida that much, but there you go. It's interesting, and I can't go to Florida all the time because then I wouldn't be able to report what's pissing me off now.
Yeah, here we go with Brian's not a newest segment, your regular segment of what's pissing off Brian. So what is it, Brian?
It's been a while. We got through the holidays. People were tweeting us in asking, we haven't heard if anything's pissing off Brian, and I tried to be cheerio around the holidays, and now we're getting through this, and sure enough, what was the thing we talked about on the last podcast? What we were looking forward to in 2017, and it took me less than a week to be disappointed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so why don't you tell us what happened there, Mr.
Well,
Fischler?
if you recall on the last podcast, the biggest thing I was looking forward to in 2017 was IRA.
Mm-hmm.
And just for those of you who are first-time listeners, where have you been all this time? But, IRA is the glasses you've heard about a lot in the news where you put them on and you connect to a virtual worker. We had Suman on last year, the CEO, and I was quite excited. I had signed up for their Early Explorer program, put my deposit in, and then I finally, a few days ago, got the email about all the details, and it's not affordable. It's just not affordable out of the box, at least right now. One of those things that we talk about is you could create the most brilliant technology in the world, but if nobody can afford it, what's the point?
Yeah, no, I understand that, Brian. And you and I, we had a discussion about this. And, I've been involved in development, software, and, modifications of hardware and building systems and things like that. And it is an expensive process. And it is something that's very hard to do. And a lot of times when you come out with the initial systems, they cost a lot more than they do down the road. So hopefully that is the situation we're in here. We're in with this now. They'll get some early adopters that are able to meet their early financial models, and then hopefully with experience, with building some economies of scale by increasing users and things like that, and then streamlining the process, they'll be able to bring the cost down and make it affordable. I like the technology, but the technology isn't any good if nobody can afford to use it.
Yeah, and at price tags of $129, $199, or $329 monthly. Unfortunately, that just wasn't in my budget. I think they're doing some good things at IRA. I'm not poo-pooing it, but at least for the foreseeable future, it's not something that was in my budget. And I'm getting ready actually next week to have a conversation with a friend who I just found out is in the Explorer program, and he thinks it's fantastic. It's not for everybody, though, unfortunately, right now, including myself. And, maybe if I didn't buy 16 Bluetooth speakers last year or something.
You would, you actually could do it, but you'd have to cut out your Schillinger budget.
I believe it or not, Schillinger's, I don't spend that much. I would have to have my mom revoke the payments for you monthly to be my friend, and all the other payments she pays out for people to be my friends, and then maybe I could use that money and allocate it in a smarter way.
There you go. But I will give them this though; they've gotten a lot of publicity out at the Consumer Electronics Show. They're featured in PC Magazine as one of the top new technologies being featured this year, and they just did a deal with AT&T to hopefully make it more affordable for streamlining the data streaming process, which is involved here, because you basically you're sending video up through a pipe and you're constantly communicating with a live operator. So if all that helps to reduce the price down the road, it's all good.
Hey, what'd be great is if AT&T got even more involved and they realize how valuable of a service this is. Remember AT&T years ago when they had their own GPS program you could pay $4.99 a month for?
For GPS?
Years ago they had some. Maybe it was $9.99 a monthly thing. Yeah, they used to have their own a GPS program you could pay $9.99 a month for. I never used it because, believe it or not, I don't drive that much. But
yeah, I had to give up driving when I couldn't find a place to buy a 50-foot cane.
After the 17th crash trying to park my car, they kind of took my license away, So
yeah, smart.
But no, hey, maybe AT&T will find a way to work in some kind of service plan or something for this, as extra, hey, data packages or whatever. I've been holding on to that unlimited data package for so long that maybe it'll actually come to fruition.
Yeah. You're one of the few people I know that still has that legacy unlimited data plan, but good for you.
Yeah. And I have read that AT&T plans to throttle us unlimited data users, which throttling never sounds like a good thing. But I don't think I'd come close to using the unlimited data, because to use it, you'd have to leave the apartment, and we know I don't do that often. So. But
at least but AT&T will do it to you for free. I mean, you used to have to go out and pay a dominatrix to get throttled.
And remember, we discussed the TMI topics. TMI.
Yeah.
Do you remember what was number one on the list? Dominatrix. Well, speaking of dominatrix, can you ask your dot? Because I know, how are you liking that new dot? Can you find any services in your neighborhood?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I get the Amazon Dot for Christmas, and it's nice. It works well. I think my daughters have had more fun interacting with it than I have, and it's like going back and forth like a tug of war. Alexa.
Hey, let's not set people's devices off. I can't stand podcasters who use certain words like that, setting devices off and everything, But a question for you. You were telling me, though, one of the things that, we have not discussed is you had to go all second-level security with your dot.
Well, yeah, because I realized once in a while, I have to say that, I also got a new a Fire tablet as well, and I had gotten the Fire tablet because I really wanted to check out VoiceView and see how it was going. So then when my dot came in, I tried to set up my dot with using VoiceView on the Fire tablet, and I just couldn't do it on my own. It was not. It was just wasn't working well. So I ended up downloading the app on my iPhone, and I was able to, without sighted assistance, set the dot up and get everything done. So I was a little disappointed in that process. But the other thing is, with the dot, or the Echo, whatever you want to call it, it's all about the skills. The people develop these skills, which I guess is similar to what an app is on an iPhone or a smartphone, and some are good. Some are totally useless, just like apps, and
like the AT&T texting.
Yeah. So they have all these special skills, and that one actually does work. I actually my daughter set it up on her dot because she bought one after she saw the one I had, and so she's used it to text my other daughter. So she was able to get that to work.
What's frightening is they're like in the next room, and they can't just walk next door and say hello.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But yeah, so the whole thing is about the skills, and the thing is, so you sign up for all these skills, and then you're sitting there going, I can't remember what skills I have on there. I can't remember what the action words are, because you have to use the proper syntax in order to get it to activate those skills and things like that. So there is a learning curve here. It is fun though. The music aspect of it is probably the biggest feature. I don't have any smart home devices yet that it can interact with, but I was able to hook it up to my Bluetooth speaker, and so playing music on it was really nice.
Well, what I meant when I said second level security was the shopping feature you had.
So that's what I started to say. So when I said it, when I downloaded the iOS app and I'm going through it, I noticed a section to add a passcode for ordering on Alexa, and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to do this, because I was going away for New Year's Eve, and I didn't want to come home and find out my daughters had accidentally ordered a bunch of things from Amazon.
Did you tell me there was a great video or a photo about some kid or something that?
Yeah, so here's what happened. So I come back, and right after the New Year, I come back, and it's all over the news about this little girl and they show pictures of her standing next to this $175 dollhouse and 40 pounds of cookies that she had ordered on her parents' Echo device. So
how old was the kid?
I think she was like 6 or 7 years old. So I think those parents quickly went in there and put their passcode in on there as well. So
yeah, I should probably wise up and put a passcode. Before very many, it was like 6 months ago. So few people knew about the Echo and the Dot, but now everybody knows about it. And you get that one wise guy friend, and I've got plenty of them, that I go to the bathroom, and next 2 days later, I got a 60-inch television showing up here.
or Nash has 300 pounds of dog food.
Yeah, it's a good thing he doesn't talk.
There you go. Yeah. So, but I tell you what, speaking of talking or communication, I tell you, the one of the things we spoke about in the last episode was the labeling of photos. And I have to tell you, Brian, I think this is the one topic where we got the most responses from listeners. We got feedback from Twitter. We got feedback on Facebook. We had feedback through email. There was one phone call about it as well, where people were contacting us and telling us how to label photos.
We also had somebody that used skywriting to let us know how to do it as well.
Really? Was that Braille skywriting? Because I wasn't able to see that.
No. Friends, and I've yet to do this because this comes down to the labeling elements. And when I first Pete Lane of Blind Abilities had emailed me right away about how to do this, and I dismissed it, saying, yeah, every time I label elements, when you do the 2-finger double tap and the hold, and you get the beep beep beep. I labeled something baseball, or CBS baseball, and all of a sudden I noticed my podcast list called baseball changed to CBS baseball, and anywhere on the phone where it said baseball, it started appearing as CBS baseball. So I don't like labeling elements, but you told me that this works with labeling photos, and it's the same method.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd gone in. Like I said, I'd read a few emails, and then we had a couple of posts on Facebook in response to some things, posting the episodes and things. And so I tried it, and it worked very well. It was clean and easy, and I was like, oh, nice. Because I was just like you. I never really labeled elements. I'm like, what's the purpose of this? My icons are labeled. I know what everything is. Yeah. But for labeling photos, it works well. So 2-finger double tap hold, it brings it up. Type in what's in the picture or what you want to say about the picture, and save it, and you're good.
Yeah, no, and I've yet to try it, but as soon as I get somebody sighted over here who could tell me who's in the stupid photo, maybe I will try that.
So, well, the good news is, even though you dismissed him, our friend Pete Lane decided that he was going to come on board with Jeff Thompson and have a little conversation with us. So our friends from Blind Abilities are going to join us here on iAccess VO.
Let's go. Now we'd like to welcome in two gentlemen who most of you probably know from Blind Abilities, Pete Lane and Jeff Thompson. How you guys doing today?
Real good, Brian. How are you?
Not too bad.
Real good.
Hey, welcome aboard, guys.
Hey, thanks. It's a pleasure.
Well, as fellow podcasters, we got to start off with what made the two of you guys want to get into podcasting.
Well, we were all on Audio Boom. I had a channel. It was called Blind Abilities Channel, and a lot of people were on there and stuff. And it could get carried away. It was kind of like a hodgepodge of a lot of people coming in and talking about anything. And I just decided that I wanted to take it to another level, and I met Pete. Pete came on, did a little demo, and the rest is history. Right, Pete?
Exactly. I worked for the federal government for 40 years, and when I retired, I had been dabbling in sound audio production in the past. I was a kind of an amateur musician, guitar player, drummer, and I used to do multi-track recording of myself because no one else would play with me. But I used to play with 4-track recordings and absolutely loved to play with audio. So when I retired, I said to myself, I'm going to get into more audio production. And I picked up this Audio Boom app, which used to be a really, really cool community, kind of a audio social kind of a platform. And one of the first things I heard was Jeff Thompson doing these intricate audio schemes with multi-tracks and sound effects and putting some humor into it. And I thought to myself, well, this is exactly the kind of thing I want to get into. So basically, the joke between Jeff and I is that I stalked him because I went back and listened to all of his posts. At the time, there were like 150 of them. And I listened to all of this stuff that he did.
I called my wife and I said, I got a stalker.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny because Ed stalked me for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, hardly, but that's pretty cool. So in other words, the Blind Abilities brand, you would establish it on Audio Boom as yourself, and then you just continued it when you guys hooked up together.
Well, yeah, I just had the name. I always wanted a different name, I guess, and Blind Abilities puts a positive twist to the word blind, so I had that as my handle. Then I realized I wanted the channel, so I talked to Audio Boom, and I established a channel there, and I called it Blind Abilities Channel. So I had to go back to Jeff Thompson, which my mom probably liked, but it was hard to separate the two for a while, and then it finally took, and then Pete and we started recording stuff together, and we decided we wanted a more stable platform because Audio Boom goes through its phases of discovering itself and differentiating from the original platform. So we wanted a more stable thing. So I said we should start a website. And that's when, well, Pete and I were learning off each other and stuff like that. So I went over and started the website and did all the back end while he took over. Well, we shared everything, but knowing he was there, it gave me freed up some time to go start that end of it.
Well, it also helps too. You have somebody else you're working with, so when you set that timeline, you have somebody saying, "Hey, did you finish that?"
So Ed and I, we found that the success to keeping a good working relationship was never being in the same location, so we don't annoy each other. But you guys have an even more interesting working relationship because I believe you two have never met in person.
Never laid eyes on the man.
No. No, and that's kind of odd, but we're going to, my wife and I just booked an NFB room down there just to get to Orlando. Nice rates, right? And that's Pete's down there, so there's more than, 5 different reasons why we went there. And, it's a convention, but
yeah.
Her relatives live down there, yeah.
Yeah, so you guys will get a chance to meet again, I guess, just this July then at the NFB convention. That's cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if there's no more Blind Abilities after July, we now know why they've met in person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is funny. I've known Jeff for over 2 years now, and we've never met personally.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting Jeff because I want to know how many fingers he has because I hear he's a woodworker.
Well, I got them all. Safety first.
That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. So, did you start that hobby before you lost your sight, or is that something you developed afterwards?
Actually, in a nutshell, when I was growing up, I was the one that tagged along with my dad, and he had the hammer, he had the electrical stuff and all the, he was a weekend warrior,
Mm-hmm.
And he told me one time, if you want something and you can't afford it, you better learn how to do it. So I took that under my belt. And after I lost my eyesight, I put my tools all away and I went to a training center. One training center, I got to choose, and I said, why would I want to go into woodworking? Well, later on in life, I went for a tune-up and ended up at Blind Incorporated and started there. And 10 minutes into the class, they handed me a click ruler, and I started clicking it. And all of a sudden, the light went on, and I was like, I can measure, I can do all this. And 4 months later, I was teaching the class. So it all came back that fast. Actually, that same day, I started teaching a student that was sitting next to me. But I've always been kind of a teacher mode, so... And after I left there, I got my own shop in I call it Jeff's. It's Jeff's Egotistical Fantastical Fortress. I don't like the man cave name.
And you also did a lot of some audio production work too, or something before you lost your sight as well, right?
Yeah, like Pete, I play guitar and stuff, and I was recording. I wasn't as good as my friends, so I was recording other people, and I had a big multi-track mixer. I had the whole thing, compressor, sound, massager, all this gizmo and stuff. And I decided just take enough space, so I sold the whole thing. And then about 6 months later, I found that audio boost stuff, and I just sat back and went, wow, I could use all that stuff again. But I kept my microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete, you couldn't have more of a different background because from what I've been reading here, you worked 25 years for the IRS, which I didn't even know blind people had to pay taxes.
That's right. Actually, it was 40 years, but who's counting?
Wait a minute.
Well,
so we have somebody here who's older than me, Brian?
Yeah, and we've yet established again that I still can't do math. Well, 40 years, and in those 40 years, you were real involved with hiring a lot of visually impaired people. What advice might you have for somebody who's maybe a little older in life, is dealing with a visual impairment, and might be looking to get back to work?
Well, my advice for people interested in getting on with the IRS specifically is to dedicate themselves to keyboarding, computer keyboarding, because the job is a customer service job. Most of them are anyway. And so communication skills, the ability to think and talk on your feet while multitasking on a keyboard are key. But in general, I think computer skills is the absolute key to anybody's success in the job market. You've got to get out there and open up your toolbox and expand it to any and all type of platform, whether it's Windows or the Mac, probably more Windows with the corporate community as well as the governmental entities. But the better computer skills you have, I think the more competitive you're going to be.
If you're looking to get into the CIA, we would probably suggest waterboarding is instead of keyboarding where you should spend your time. Okay.
Yeah. Be able to hold your breath for a while.
Not until the 21st.
Oh, that's a good
That's
thing.
right.
Brian, practice holding your breath.
Hey, we know I've been sick for a while.
We'll let you know when you can breathe.
Yeah.
There you go.
I heard there was an opening for Darth Vader, and I'm practicing.
There you go. You're doing well.
You're jumping all over you, Brian.
Yeah, but that's great though. I mean, I do realize that I teach people to use Mac and PCs as well, and probably 80% of the work that we teach is all based around the Windows platform. So
at least.
And most of the corporate jobs that are out there, most of those people we have that are learning the Mac are either doing their own like entrepreneur type projects or they're in school. Yeah.
Yeah, all the IRS uses is Windows-based. In fact, when I was leaving, they were in the process of upgrading to Windows 7. So they're about 5 years behind the times, but it's all Windows.
Are they still using those big floppy disks?
Only for the nuclear arsenal.
Right.
Like when I was teaching, the main thing was getting the main thing is PC, because all the companies, like you said, are there. But the one thing that, doing the podcast and talking with former students and all that stuff here, once you're in the big community, is not only using JAWS, but Window Eyes or NVDA, having all those pieces of tools in your toolbox.
Right.
Because one thing might do everything except for that, so you need it.
Right.
Yeah, what's your go-to devices? Are you more PC, Mac? I know, or are you using both of them?
I'm pure Mac and iPhone. I transitioned to the Mac when I retired, and I'll never go back.
You know what they say, once you go Mac, you never go back.
You got it.
What about you, Jeff?
Well, I was PC most of my life with JAWS, and I fried a computer, and I decided to try the Mac, and I went there. My wife has 2 PCs, one for work and one at home, and she likes tech, but she doesn't like tech working on it, like when something doesn't go right. So I keep up my JAWS skills on that by jumping on there once in a while and zooming around.
Mm-hmm. Good.
You got to have both.
Yeah, Brian recently actually set his Mac up to be able to run Windows and his Mac ecosystem. So
Boot camp, yeah.
Yep.
Fusion or Boot Camp?
Fusion.
Using VMware Fusion, yeah.
Fusion, yeah.
But then I found an easier way. Be friends with a millennial who has an extra laptop and have him give it to you and put Windows 10 on it. So
There you go.
I've been using that to hone my JAWS skills, because the Mac, believe it or not, Mac VoiceOver was the first screen reader that I ever used, and I'm able to do pretty much everything that I need to do on the Mac. Is there frustration? Sure there is, but not as much frustration as I used to have on the PC pre-2009.
I agree.
Yeah, but I think we all have to agree, though, the iPhone was a major game changer in this arena.
Oh, of course. I mean, as soon as you could walk around like Spock,
It's awesome.
No, when the first time I saw someone use an iPhone and they were demonstrating it and swiping it, all I could think of is how they teach monkeys to put circles in circles to get the banana in a square. And I said, I'm not doing it. So I waited a year and a half, and I think I got the 4. And as soon as I got the 4, I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, you're a little more adventurous than I was. I had heard about it and wouldn't even go look at it. I wanted nothing to do with it. And then I happened to be at a social function where all these blind visually impaired people were running around with iPhones and iPads, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I had just assumed a piece of glass was going to be too hard to deal with, but it was a major game changer for me. It took me right back to being very productive within a weekend. It was awesome.
Yeah, same with me, Ed.
You guys asked what we'd like to see. I'm going to just tie it in with that iPhone stuff, the iOS, like when you use the program numbers, or, when you're trying to do some database stuff or anything like that. I think that's where they could use some work.
Yeah.
Especially like in word processing. I don't know why they can't bridge that over closer to something that would be accepted on a government site.
Yeah, numbers has a lot of room for improvement, especially on the iPhone and everything. I think it's vertical navigation that does work in the spreadsheets, but I don't understand why, you shouldn't just be able to move the rows and flick down one at a time or everything. I remember one of them works, either rows works or vertical navigation works, and the other one doesn't and everything, and it's pretty ridiculous that the other one doesn't work. So that's an area where they definitely can use a lot of improvement.
Oh, yeah, you can move that whole grid over 1 millicron at a time. It's like, what?
Yeah, but it's what about you guys? Demo series for 2017? Anything that you got coming up that you want to talk about?
Well, nothing really specific. We kind of fly by the seat of our pants as far as what topics to cover and where to head with our podcast. But as we identify issues and topics that we think need some coverage, everything ranging from basic iPhone fundamentals to some of the more advanced things with different apps and things like that. It's just kind of as it strikes us. Mm-hmm. But we're not really cubby-holed into doing just demos or interviews or tech. So,
well, you guys have a decent present. Actually, you have a very huge Twitter presence. I was actually very impressed when I saw the number of followers you had on Twitter. I was like, wow, but that's got to be a great source of feedback for you and a great source of information to say, hey, you know what, we should cover this topic or that topic, because you can just monitor the conversations that are going on about the different things involved with the tech that we talk about.
Oh, yeah. Twitter is an interesting thing, and, the info at blindabilities.com, we get feedback through that. It'd be nice to get a lot more feedback sometimes. Sometimes you get a lot of feedback on something you weren't even thinking about, and then here's something that you do that you work all the time on, and you get very little feedback. So it's interesting feedback, and the statistics,
Yes, and we get the most feedback when we make a mistake.
or when we breathe really heavily because we have the cold. How many people point out the breathing?
Yeah, I think the most feedback we got was when we said Bookshare was free if you had an NLS relationship, and it was like, oh, that's only in New York.
Only in New York. So we had some fun with that though. But you guys did something that was really interesting to us. You guys created the Blind Abilities app. How accessible was that process? Did you need sighted assistance to do it?
Well, no, it was their app. I toured around and realized with Libsyn and the developers that they use that it wasn't accessible, every piece of it. So I wrote a letter to the head guy at Libsyn, and it was interesting because all of a sudden they said we should be accessible. So they contacted me with the developer. So I had a one-on-one with the developer, and I took an iPad and had it over my shoulder on a stand, and then I held my phone and walked through their app. Within 3 weeks, they made changes to it. And then so we've had this relationship going on, making it accessible. For the most part, it works perfectly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. No, and the Libsyn service is great. That's what we use them as well, and we've actually been putting together the process to get the app going for iAccess VO as well. But
the hardest part is getting those pictures. They want like 5 different photos, and I'll give you a tip here. Like when you're on a screen and they have something kind of holding in the background and all this visual stuff, they want certain sizes. Like the next one is 1432.
1400. 1400 by 1400 or 1432 by 1422 or something like that. Yeah.
And then they want a background color. You guys would probably use your red and other things. And it's nowadays, like on my Mac, I don't know how to change the size of the photo and the resolution and the pixels. So I did send that to my son to say, here's the specs, change these, and please label them for me.
Ed, is that why you needed that photo of me with my shirt off with Nash?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, it wasn't for the app? That was just for your personal use?
No.
Get that image out of my head.
Yeah, me too.
You don't know what I look like.
No, it was really nice to see Libsyn respond the way they did, being the largest file depository, I guess, in the world.
And I've got to say that they worked with Jeff, and Jeff actually got some really good accessibility features included in the final product. In fact, he still works with them today to get additional buttons labeled and things like that.
Is that Rob Walsh you work with there? Or?
Rob Walsh.
Yeah.
Rob. And the thing is, it's there. It's kind of a package. So when someone else comes in and needs an app of that sort, it'll be ready. Because what was really neat. Have you heard of WTF podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
you talking about Mark Maron?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Mark.
Well, see, he uses the app too, and I realized his wasn't accessible, so I was using that. So Rob put Blind Abilities at the top of the list, so we were released before WTF, so we could test the accessibility. I actually sent the email to Rob. It was about like midnight, almost midnight, and all of a sudden he sent me an email back, and it was like within 10 minutes. It says basically, here's a prototype. And he sends me the prototype. So I kick it around and I told them what was needed to be fixed and stuff. And they did it. And within a week, about a week, right, Pete?
Yeah, or less.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. About a week later, all of a sudden it was out and it worked great. Now we have categories. You can switch to categories. You can. So
plus you can release bonus content to just the people who subscribe to the app and everything else. So it's a nice feature.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that you get a lot of traffic in the app? People that aren't necessarily downloading with a podcast player.
I think the app it's an easy way for take Pete's iAccess group. You got people who are just coming into the iPhone. You can put it right there and it's a button. Whereas to try and teach them how to use Downcast and how to populate it with RSS feeds, that gets to another level. So like we use, and Pete does, I think you use Downcast, right, Pete?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you can...
Yeah, that's my go-to podcatcher too, and I believe also for Brian, Downcast as well. But you're right. With the blind community, when you're dealing with newbies and novices, to try and teach them how to subscribe to the show is difficult. Whereas if but they all know how to at least download an app, or they can get assistance to do that, and
right.
It works well for them. Yeah,
it's all about making it available to different pockets of the community.
Absolutely.
Well, wow. This was a meeting of the minds. Blind abilities meets iAccess VO, kind of like the old superhero crossovers in the cartoons. But
we're all doing the same goodness. Is that the right way to put it?
Yeah.
Disseminating stuff. I was a teacher. Pete, you taught a lot of people, showed them the ropes and stuff like that. So it's sharing. Well, you got the iAccess group that you started on that, and that's really great. So we're teachers and we disseminate. There's no reason to hang on to all our knowledge because what's it going to do us,
Exactly.
Yeah, no, and, for us, I know, we like to spread a little knowledge, spread some laughs, and at least it gives me a soapbox to complain and whine. What's pissing me off now?
Yeah, well, Brian and I, we've also done a workshop at the Andrew Hutzker Library in New York City on podcasting to the blind community. We'll probably do another one this year because it's a great way for people to find their voice and express their opinions and advocate for different pockets of things that they want to see accomplished for the community. So it works well.
Exactly.
Well, perfect. Well, Ed, you got anything else?
No, I think it was great to finally meet the guys. I mean, I know we've had some correspondence back and forth with emails and things like that, but it's great to have you guys on. Love your show and some great topics,
Likewise.
Some great demos. I'll be checking out the Amadeus demos because I've just recently downloaded that for my Mac, so I want to start playing with the editing on there as well. And so you guys record. You guys use Audio Hijack, Brian was telling me. Is that true?
For our Skype calls, yeah.
Oh,
Audio
okay.
Hijack. Well, Audio Hijack gives you so many different versatile things you can do. Like if you want to get something off YouTube, or if you want to legally, if you want to get any of this stuff.
I'm glad you added that
Disclaimer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you have there's different modules that you can click on that'll set it up for you right like that, and you're ready to go. And you go to the website, you turn on what you want to record, then you go get it, and then you edit it. So
yeah, and that's how we did our Mac demos.
Right. Now, did you guys build your website in WordPress?
Oh, yeah. Well, WordPress is the get-go. You got an empty chamber that's empty there. You got a website, there's nothing in there. So you start by putting in the WordPress, then you get the Blueberry, then you get and that's where Twitter comes in, where you can hunt around and talk to people, ask and see go explore other websites, see what they're using. Usually down at the bottom of the page, you'll see what theme they're using maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So basically what I did was find who was successful on a website that I liked, and I found out what they were using and stuff. And, I think when you take something from someone else, it's kind of like flattery, or it's a compliment because you're using them. Like Cool Blind Tech was one that I was looking at for a while. because it was established, it was rock solid. Mm-hmm. And then I looked at who made that stuff. So I went to that company and checked out them and sent them emails. The main thing, if you really want to get into stuff, get a hold of the company, and they're always willing to lead you on to someone. Then Amanda Rush, if you've heard of her.
Yes.
She's been a resource of just reading her blogs or reading her stuff. And, over the years, she's been my, what do you say? Just someone that you like to read. You read it and you go, oh, that's about it.
Good. She's a great resource then for learning what you're doing and stuff. Yeah, I know, Brian. You're very active in the different lists that are still out there, right, Brian?
Yeah. That's where we'll pull content from, or if we see a lot of people talking about a certain topic, and then Ed and I will bounce it off each other, and because everybody has different ideas and that sort of thing, and just following Apple news, and we're more. I think our shows have a lot of similarities, but they have a lot of differences. Where we're really more a tech show, where you guys are more a blind lifestyle show. Am I correct in saying it that way?
You can include blind lifestyle, but we do tech as well.
Well, this was a lot of fun, getting to talk to you guys on the air and everything instead of just listening to you guys. Pete and Jeff, I think everybody knows where to find you. You've got the app Blind Abilities, your podcast catcher Blind Abilities, as well as the website blindabilities.com.
Yep.
And then also you guys are at Blind Abilities on Twitter as well, aren't you?
That's right.
Well, good luck in 2017. Maybe we'll revisit this in 2018.
Well, we'll probably bring you on the Blind Abilities and let you guys have some fun.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you being on.
Do that. Thank you.
You're listening to Brian and Ed on iAccess VO.
That was Jeff Thompson and Pete Lane from Blind Abilities. Another great podcast that's out there. If you haven't heard them yet, go ahead and give them a listen. They do a lot of interesting tutorials for beginners as well as more advanced users. And, I've been dipping my toe into the editing pool, Ed, and I've actually gotten a lot of great information from their editing series.
Yeah, that's a great series. They took a lot of time to put that together. Anybody who wants to do some editing, audio editing on the Mac, with using Amadeus Pro, I mean, they've done a nice job with that. So go ahead and check out Blind Abilities. They have their own app on the App Store, so you can actually download that and have access to their different content and things like that as well. So it's they're a good group of guys.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. So, and Ed, one interesting thing, with Apple Maps now, supposedly, I think it's Apple Maps might be the one. It tells you, what subway exit to take, and the problem was I never had cell service in the subway station, so it wasn't really useful, but that's all changing as of today.
Yeah, starting in the new year of 2017, pretty amazing. The governor of New York just announced that it is now available. All subway stations in New York City, the Bronx, Queens, now have cellular service.
Yeah, and Wi-Fi too.
Yes, and there's Wi-Fi in every station as well. And the Wi-Fi is pretty interesting because it's you have to activate it when you go down into the subway system, but it's transit wireless Wi-Fi. That's what you would look for. So you go into your settings, go to Wi-Fi, look for that, double tap, go in and get it going for yourself, and you get 1 hour of free Wi-Fi service. Now at the end of that hour, you can repeat the process and go in and log in again. So you're not restricted to an hour a day or an hour a week or anything, but it stays hooked up for an hour while you're riding the subways, which is great because now you can get text messages and things like that, because that happens to me sometimes. You get stuck in the subway and you can't contact anybody, you don't hear from anybody, and you don't know what's going on. So now you can stay in contact. If plans change while you are in transit.
Well, hey, just so we clarify, because we once made it. Now, do you have to be a New Yorker to use this, or is this free to everybody who travels in New York?
It is free to everybody who enters into the subway system, so you do not have to be from New York to get this.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, to make sure we cross our I's and dot our T's. And the great thing, though, if you are a New Yorker, you can
download your Bookshare book while you're in the subway.
Yes, you can. Yeah, but you have to be a New Yorker to do that, or a paid member that's not a New Yorker. So
that's correct.
That is correct. But no, this is great, and again, unlimited data here, so I'll be using that cellular connection. And sometimes I notice cellular is a lot faster than public Wi-Fi. I've noticed that in airports where I could be on there for some reason. I get attached to their Wi-Fi, and I can't even get basic functions like email to load. I turn Wi-Fi off, and on cellular, everything loads instantaneously.
Well, the other thing about cellular, too, it is safer than Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi is something you do have to be careful with. So don't do anything critical. Don't go in there and start, checking all your bank accounts and ordering equipment and putting credit card numbers in or whatever. And the other thing is, and I know we've talked about this in an earlier episode of 2016, is that if you're going to be accessing public Wi-Fi, you definitely should investigate using a virtual private network. And I think the two that I have used and we've discussed is Tunnel Bear, which Allison Hartley turned us on to from, was it the Tech Doctor podcast? And ProXPN, which is another one I've used. And, they're affordable. They do have free service plans as well if you don't use a lot of data. But definitely something to look into to protect yourself. And, we're all out and about a lot more. Even blind people are out and about a lot more using their smartphone devices. So using a virtual private network is definitely something that you should consider for 2017, because the last thing we want to do is have somebody hack your email.
Now, did you I heard you say that cellular is safer. So does that mean if I'm on cellular, I'm less likely to get hit by a train?
No, I'm saying it's no. If you're on cellular, you might get hit by a train if you're distracted. So be careful.
Well, that's what. Let's have a disclaimer here. First and foremost, pay attention to what's going on around you in the subways. They're not exactly they're the safest they've ever been, but pay attention to what's going on around you. You can always wait to get out that email or message and everything. Safety always comes first, and then worry about your email or making a phone call.
Right. The last thing you want to do is if you're especially if you're from out of town, you don't want to come into New York City and be in the subway system at 1:30 in the morning and whip out your $850 iPhone 7 Plus.
Unless, of course, you're in that subway and you're firing off an email to iaccessvo@gmail.com or tweeting us at iaccessvo, which you can now do in the subway tunnels.
There you go. Awesome. All right.
See how I tied that in there?
Yes, you did. Nice segue, my friend. So I see that you and I had a little conversation recently. We're back to the old debate, and we have this a lot, and we discuss this with a lot of our guests. Is what do you prefer, Mac or PC?
This is a debate that'll never go away until, it's almost like Democrat and Republican or until a third party eventually comes. The same thing with the computers. We're waiting for a third one to come. Jonathan Mosen had a very lengthy blog that you had forwarded to me about why he's leaving the Mac. And I respect Jonathan. I think Jonathan does a lot of things on his computer that not a lot of Mac users do. I know he's broadcasting a lot and everything. I couldn't have disagreed with Jonathan more, actually, for his reasons leaving the Mac. I thought it was a very well-written article. I just didn't really agree with him for his reasons leaving the Mac and going back to a PC.
Okay. I mean, he went from the PC to the Mac, and then now has gone back to the PC side with all the different things that he was doing. And in all fairness, to Jonathan, and full disclosure, is that he is a consultant with Freedom Scientific. He does a lot with the JAWS programs, and he does a lot with Freedom Scientific and things like that. So the PC ecosystem has been his platform of choice for many, many, many years, and he's done a lot of tutorials there and things like that. So it's whatever works for you, and that's the important thing. If you're more comfortable in a certain environment, stick with what you know.
Yeah, and like I said, I have great respect for Jonathan. He seemed like even when he was on the Mac, he was spending a great deal of time in the PC universe. I don't think he was using Fusion. I think he was using Boot Camp. I just don't really use that many Windows applications, and everything I could do on the Mac side, whether it's with Pages or Numbers and everything. So for me, the Mac side's been great to me and everything. I am finally learning NVDA, so I am using a Windows PC for that. I decided not to use Fusion because it was just too complicated. Unfortunately, somebody gave me a laptop, so maybe I'll change my tune eventually. But you got to just use what's comfortable for you and what you are, get your work done quickest on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the bottom line is productivity, efficiency, and getting the job done in a timely manner. So whatever works for you, stick with it. I mean, if learning curve can take a long time to make that leap from the PC side to the Mac side, or
from the Mac side to the PC side as I'm learning.
Well, you were a huge PC user up until 7 or 8 years ago, but so you've lived in the Apple ecosystem now for 7 or 8 years, and I guess when you left, that was probably 2, 3, or 4 Windows operating systems ago. And I know people have difficulty moving from one to the next one. You've had a leap over 5, so it was a bit of a shock for you. Yeah,
the last thing I was using was Windows XP, and now I'm trying to wrap my head around. It's funny, from teaching Mac, one of the 2 most difficult things when teaching somebody the Mac is having them just visually in their head get the layout of the computer down and how the Finder window works. And I'm doing that on the PC side now. It's you got all these different home screens and stuff, and I'm having a little difficulty just wrapping my head around it. But it's like, wait a minute, how am I in this menu now when I was just in that menu and everything? So it's there is a learning curve to both sides.
Yep, absolutely. So what it is? It all takes time, and it takes a lot of repetition, and a lot of practice.
And you got to remember, I only have a 3rd grade education level, so it definitely.
Oh, I thought that was on the TMI list. We weren't supposed to speak about that.
Yes. Not a good start to the year. We're dropping too much personal information.
That's it. You know what it is, Brian? It was that geography class that kept you from going to the 4th grade.
Which, by the way, I have been killing it on the geography category in Marty Schultz's latest game, the Jeopardy game. I do really enjoy the Jeopardy game, although I have learned that the AI is on the beginner level quite dumb. So, it's like I'm beating a 3rd grader. But so hopefully,
is that that's one of the newest games in the Blindfold series of games?
It is, and my only complaint about the game is the AI when you have it set to beginner. The question could be like, what is the East River in New York called? And it has multiple choices, and it'll say the West Bank, and you're like, wait, East River was right there. Then you have it set to non-beginner level, and they get every question on the board correct. So there's got to be a way to get in between that, Marty. You gotta have some AI that doesn't get every question right or every question wrong.
Yeah, well, that's why they call it artificial intelligence.
That's true. Anything else you want to add? We're off and running here in the new year. We were with you through the holidays, and we got some exciting guests on the horizon coming up for the new year. Anything else you want to add, my friend?
No, I'm looking forward to a good year. I think we have a lot of great developments going on in the tech arena. In fact, I even saw something today which I stumbled upon while I was on Facebook. Somebody had posted it on one of the boards, and it's something called BliTab, BLITAB. It is a Braille Android tablet, where you're actually able to read Braille on the screen because they have some kind of bubble system that puts up where the dot system would be. So, and the price point of that's supposed to be around $500. Come out later this year. So pretty interesting. They were at CES, got a little publicity, and they have a functioning product, and we'll see where that develops. So I think that all these technological advancements and things that are happening for the the sighted world in general. I mean, there is a trickle-down effect that does help people with disabilities, gives them some advantage down the road, so brings the cost down and things like that. So, hopefully we'll continue to see a more accessible world as we continue to go, and it'll be more inclusive for us.
And I already got that company's tagline: Bubbles, not just for the tub anymore.
On that note, my friend,
we are out.
You have been listening to iAccess VO. If you'd like to contact us with ideas and suggestions for future podcasts, please email us at iaccessvo@gmail.com or visit our website at www.accessquest.org.